And welcome back. The American Red Cross of Greater New York serves more than 12 million people in New York City. Now, the organization responds to emergencies such as disasters and fires, floods, and building collapses, providing food, shelter, clothing, and emotional support at no cost to those who are in need. We're pleased to have with us the communications officer at American Red Cross Greater New York, Michael D. Vulpillieres, who is with us. And Michael, good to have you.
Good to be on. Thanks so much for chatting with us.
Yeah, I want to thank you for what you're doing with the Red Cross. I mean, obviously, you guys, when you're first introduced, and many times it's at life's challenging moments, disasters, and the Red Cross seems to be one of those organizations that really can give some support, emotional, and then also some tangible support to those who are most in need.
Yeah, so I mean, people, like as you mentioned, people encounter the American Red Cross often at the worst moment in their lives, whether it's a terrible fire, building collapse, other local emergencies. The American Red Cross is there. They're there to help people get through some of those really, really challenging moments, anxiety, loss. Our volunteers are there 24/7 for New Yorkers and for Americans across the country.
It's almost like you have to, watch the news and at the same time watch the news, also watch the calendar, forecasting possibly what a possible disaster could look like, whether that's flood, rain, inclement weather, all of those things, not even to mention the natural disasters that hit. How do you go about preparation?
Yeah, so we prepare all year round for disasters large and small that might occur across our region, across the country. We are working really closely with emergency management, with our partners across the city, as it relates to local disasters. So we are aware whenever those disasters occur, we're looped into the emergency management system. We get those notifications, and so we're preparing. We're preparing our volunteers. We're preparing our staff. We know that the disasters occur all year round in the city, in the Bronx. Bronx is one of our busiest boroughs, so we are ready with our teams and staff and supplies. There are some times a year where we face different risks. The winter time is a period where we see a spike in home fires. So we are mobilizing when the weather gets cooler. We are mobilizing our staff and volunteers so that they're ready, so that we have a shored up support, additional support in the event of larger and more frequent fires that unfortunately we see during the winter months. But we're getting ready all year round. It's just that communication, coordination, not only with our staff, but then with all our emergency partners, working so that we can address those immediate needs that might occur.
You talk about getting yourself ready, but you also do a good job of trying to get the public ready through emergency preparedness, having them knowing what to have in the house in case of emergency, how to react in case of emergency. How has emergency preparedness really helped New Yorkers in the way that when disaster strikes, people are prepared?
Yeah, so like you were alluding to, disaster preparedness really starts at home. So the Red Cross has a whole host of programs that help get families aware of the risks that might occur, empowering them with that information, as well as installing free smoke alarms and other safety resources in homes. So anybody across the city who is in need of a smoke alarm can receive one from the American Red Cross. We have a program where we're installing these alarms in homes. We're talking to families about fire safety. We're installing them. We're walking them through their escape planning. What we tell people is, when it comes to a fire, you only have 2 minutes to get out of your home, so you got to prepare that. So we work with families to prepare for fires, but we also have a whole host of programs beyond fires. So we're working with adults and children to educate them about the risks that might occur in their communities, and then what are the tools, what are the resources that every family should have at home. So you want to have those supplies in the event that you have to shelter in place. Maybe there's going to be a large power outage. Or if you have to evacuate at a moment's notice, you need to have certain supplies on hand. So we have all these different programs that anybody, New Yorkers, can access. You can go to redcross.org to see what those services and programs are. But it's really critical because the more prepared you, your family, your communities are, the less impact that disaster is going to have on your family. And I've, having been out to fires so frequently as part of the American Red Cross, you see how quickly these fires occur and how fast and how quickly and how much that they can disrupt lives. So it is really critical to have those supplies in place and to have that information and to talk to your families about it. And the Red Cross can help with that.
You speak a lot about the work of the Red Cross and what you guys do, but when disaster hits, we see a lot of red jackets out there, and nobody knows the difference. Sometimes you got staff and then you've got volunteers. Talk to us about how volunteers have really made it to the front lines and assisted you in the work.
Of course. Well, so the Red Cross, the American Red Cross, and actually the Red Cross around the world is a volunteer organization. I'm an employee, but we have more than 90% there are more than 90% of my colleagues who are volunteers. These are people who will give of their time to help others. And we encourage more New Yorkers, more Bronx residents, more Americans to join us and to help their neighbors respond and cope and, really put a comforting presence around those folks who've been affected by these disasters. And it's very meaningful work. I've spent a lot of time with volunteers. I was just in the Bronx a couple days ago with some volunteers who were responding to a single family home fire. Folks come into the office or they're on call at home. When those disasters occur, when that notification occurs, they hop into a car and they go to that disaster to help people out. And it's really neighbors helping neighbors. And often those volunteers raise their hand to help out when there's a larger disaster outside our region. We had Bronx residents respond to some of the major disasters that have occurred outside our city. So that the terrible flooding in Kentucky, the hurricane in Puerto Rico, and of course that awful hurricane that hit the Gulf Coast, Hurricane Ian. So there were Bronx residents down there, and there are Bronx residents down there right now helping out in a whole host of different ways.
Take a look at some of the numbers. The Red Cross has helped more than 8,100 people affected by nearly 1,900 local emergencies like fires, particularly in the borough of the Bronx. It's helped more than 2,500 people affected by 466 local emergencies. And I guess you could say the Bronx does get its fair share of calls.
Yeah, so the Bronx has been, it started off with that tragic fire in the Bronx in the beginning of the year that saw all those fatalities. The Red Cross was there helping. So we've been there after the big fires. We've been there after the smaller fires. But it's really, for that one family that's been affected, it's not a small fire. It's not a small incident. There's actually been a spike when you compare this year with last year in the number of fires or the number of disaster responses for the Red Cross in the Bronx. There's been a spike citywide, a little bit of a spike citywide, but the increase in incidents that we've responded to is more significant. It's about 13% more, and that's counting for the entire year. We're not even all the way through the year when you compare it to 2021. After each of those fires, the Red Cross teams are on the scene, sometimes in the middle of the night, helping people who've been forced from their homes, suffered, really terrible loss. It could be loss of property, the death of a pet, a loss of a loved one. We're there to help provide that tangible support, emergency relief in terms of financial assistance, a place to stay, but also that arm around those people, that comforting presence, and that guidance to help walk them through the next steps. What are they going to do? And that we know, this process because that's what we do 24/7. But those people who've been forced from their homes in the middle of the night, they don't know what to do. And we're there to guide them through that process. And it means a lot to us.
It's unfortunate that many times the first interaction that people will have with you is when disaster hits. But I do know that you try to make that not the case. And when you spoke earlier about fires, I want to go back because you also help with fire alarms for general population. Give us how you can, if anybody's out there watching, saying, listen, assistance with fire alarms, installing them. This is something that the Red Cross does.
Yeah, so, because we see the impact that these fires have on a day-to-day basis, we know that impact, but we want to minimize that impact. We want to decrease fire deaths. We want there to be no fire deaths, and a working smoke alarm will increase your chances, will double your chances of surviving a fire. So that's why we've instituted, in partnership with FDNY, the FDNY Foundation, a program to install free smoke alarms in any home that needs it. So we will go, if you go to redcross.org, you can find out how, it's actually, there's a better site. It's soundthealarm.org/NYC. You can also call 877-RED Cross and select option 5. And you can schedule an appointment for a Red Cross team to visit your home with smoke alarms, They're not only going to install those alarms in the places in the home that need it, they're also going to test the alarms. So sometimes people have smoke alarms in their home, they think they work, and Red Cross will come in there and we'll see that, it's not functioning. It's quite old. So Red Cross will go into homes, install the alarms for folks, we'll test the alarms, and then we're also going to talk to families. We're going to walk them through the different fire risks that they may have and help them escape we'll walk them through what escape planning looks like. And we do this every single day. We have a dedicated team of volunteers that do that. And often after a terrible fatal fire like we saw in the Bronx early in the year, and we've seen throughout the year, we'll go in after that to bring those resources in right after that fire, while the community has that fire and has that incident top of mind. So we do this. Anybody can access it. All they have to do, again, go to soundthealarm.org/NYC or 877 Red Cross, select option 5, and that's how they can get that smoke alarm, which are really critical to help saving lives.
Can't let you go without asking this final question. As we approach the holidays, are there anything in particular that we should be paying attention to?
Yes. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the end of year, the colder months, the winter months are a time where we see a spike in home fires. The weather is getting quite colder. We are seeing a spike right now. And also we want people to be particularly fire safe as it relates to their holiday decorations. So anything with candles, Christmas trees, anything like that, you just want to be particularly careful. We do not want to see any kind of tragedies or any kind of fires as a result of holiday decorations. So we just want people to be as careful as possible. And we also encourage people to support the Red Cross. Anybody can become a volunteer, redcross.org. And we also rely on financial donations. So anybody who wants to support our work, they can visit redcross.org and find out. That's how we are able to help those people every single day, is through the donations and volunteers. So that's what we encourage people to visit redcross.org.
Yeah, Michael D. Vulpillieres, thank you so much for being with us. A lot of helpful information, and hopefully people will take that and keep that for the holidays and even into 2023. Thanks a lot, Michael.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Well, once again, I want to reiterate the information that you heard. Now, if you want to find out more, please visit the website for the Red Cross. That is redcross.org. And then also follow them on social media at Red Cross NY.